Hello everybody and welcome back to our Celpip course. My name is Marco, and in today's lesson in our 9th class, we are going to talk about your frequently asked questions. Throughout my experience, I realized that my students have pretty much the same worries and same questions that they keep asking me. So instead of like compiling answers for you, I just realized that I'm going to make a list of tips for each of those components for writing, listening, reading, and speaking. First part of the video, I will cover listening and speaking, listening and reading, and then after that we are going to talk about writing and speaking. So let's begin with the listening part. Before we do that, also I want you to remind yourself, and I want to remind myself again, that there's no magic pill for this, right? If you expect amazing results in a very short period of time with absolutely no sacrifice from your part, then you are on the wrong place. Some of my students tell me like, hey teacher, I hope you understand, my test is in a couple of days. Can you give me some really quick tips and strategies so I can like reach level 9 from level 7? It's not going to happen. Like, even if I give you that, to most students, some students are just too lazy. Even if I give them these tips that could help them, probably they're not going to use them because they just expect, the easy way out. The only way you can achieve quick results, amazing results in a short period of time with absolutely no sacrifice is gambling. And we know what are the consequences of gambling. So we are not on that place. We are not a casino, and I'm not a magician. For this program and for this structure to work, you need to work. Okay? I'm going to give you the best tools, but you have to use them yourself. And that is why it's most important that for each 1 hour of the class that you spend individually or in a group sessions or here watching this video, you need to sacrifice at least 1 hour of your free time to do homeworks and to practice. Practice will get you more familiar with this test, will get you familiar with different kind of topics and subjects, and will definitely give you more self-confidence. When you have good self-confidence, then you will basically feel more competent, and that's pretty much 50% of your overall score, right? So you covered it. Don't worry, let's start talking about listening part. So the listening test in Celpip General is arguably easier than what you see in the IELTS exam. When you prepare yourself, focus on improving your functional listening skills. You need to take notes here. When you search for information on the internet, you will find some people who say they prefer not to take notes during the test, and others who say taking notes is important. I recommend that taking notes because there are questions in the Celpip exam that ask you about specific details. It's harder to get these questions right when you don't take notes. I usually, when I do tests, I practice with my students. All right, so I practice with my students and I listen to these materials with them, these listening materials. So I write my own notes. And I've realized when I don't write notes, I miss a lot of information. Taking notes, even if you write, like, some of those things are unnecessary, but over time, you will get hang of it. You will, through practice, understand what are the best ways to take notes. If it takes you to write in your native language, then do it. Write symbols, write numbers, doesn't matter. Just practice, right? You don't have to do it perfectly at all times. I mean, perfectionism is just pure laziness. Remember this, right? Don't let perfectionism keep you away from practicing. You need to practice a lot. Trust me, it's better than just, doing perfectly each time. Doing perfectly each time is not going to help you. It's going to make you frustrated. So you need to have a positive and good attitude about this. Taking notes is important. Even though you think that you're not just that kind of person, you have to do this because it will definitely help you, and it will dramatically lower the number of your wrong answers up to 80%, right? So practice listening daily. You can use our listening material sometimes to improve your language skills. You want to know common opinion markers that people use in a conversation or speech. So our Celpip training also comes with writing correction too. Listen to Canadian audio content. News clips are great resources. You can also watch Canadian movies or dramas. So this is going to be helpful for you for sure. Now, many students ask me how to prepare better for this. What to watch? Well, one of the good ideas is to watch documentaries, because documentaries they have like a wide variety of topics. When I was young, when I was a kid, there were only documentaries about the wildlife and nature. So it only had like a very limited vocabulary. Over time, you just, some things keep repeating themselves. So, like different geographical words or different words about the animals, trees, wildlife, flora, fauna, whatever. But today it's like social, political topics. You can find murder, realistic documentaries, sci-fi, like history, everything. The good thing about documentaries is that you can watch them. You can watch them with subtitles. Usually they're very slow, so there's not much text there. So your listening skills are not going to be pushed too much. So it's good for starters. Listen, you can use subtitles the words are complex. They're using complex grammatical structures. At the same time, they're speaking very slowly, and they don't speak much. So you will definitely understand what they're trying to say. What should you watch? Also, try to watch some sitcoms, some really nice sitcoms, or movies. Movies surprisingly come with, especially American movies. Try to watch American movies because the language there is so simple, right? Watch out. Oh my God. Danger. Explosion. Whatever. It's just very simple. It's going to be very easy for you. As long as there's not much slang in it, it can be enjoyable experience for you. So try to watch something that you would probably enjoy. Remember that studying English should be enjoyable experience. When you're doing something that you're enjoying, you're not going to pay attention to how much time passed. And also listen to the audiobooks. My suggestion is for you is to listen to Brian Tracy's audiobooks. It is kind of self-improvement, right? And maybe that's not your topic. Maybe that's not something that you like, but it's very realistic. And a lot of people, I know a Russian person that came to New York, basically with no previous knowledge of English language, and that person was listening to Brian Tracy's audiobooks, and back then it was cassettes, and the person started speaking English beautifully because that person was listening to Brian Tracy's books. Listening to these audiobooks can be really helpful to you because the sound is very nice and it's very like positive, and it talks about some positive things. So pronunciation is also very, very beautiful. Now, so try to listen to audiobooks and try to watch some documentaries for a start. At the beginning, when you're watching these YouTube documentaries or whatever, try to watch them with subtitles, and over time you can switch to watching them without subtitles. As you're watching them, practice taking notes. So this is going to be really helpful for you. That answers on how to better prepare, and I answered most frequent question, what to watch. Let's talk about reading now. I'm going to give you some reading tips. The reading test is probably not very difficult, but test takers need to answer the questions fast, as you're not given a lot of time. So you need to answer fast. If you are a slow reader, start by reading the questions first before you read a passage. On the other hand, if you read fast, you may like to read the passage first to gain an understanding of what it is about. All right? So if you're a slow reader, read the questions first, and then you read you read the questions first and then you read the passage. But if you're a quick reader, first read the passage and then questions, obviously. So start reading English materials daily. Again, I have to remind you, this is a process. This is something you have to do over and over and over again. Do it daily. Do it at least a month before your test. You can read newspaper articles, editorials, blogs, and so on and so forth. When you see the word that you don't know, always try to guess the meaning based on the topics and information that is already shared before you check the dictionary. Learn various opinion markers. When you see an opinion marker, you know that you will see an opinion statement shortly. The reading test is a timed test. As you get closer to your test date, do a timed practice to see if you still struggle completing the questions in time. So many students ask me how to better prepare for this. Your best preparation is like at least 3 to 4 months before your test. So it's the same with the listening part. So you need to start preparing a little bit. One of the most important things is to do homework. Now, since this is not like your homework is pretty much going to be training. If we're talking about reading and listening part, you don't have to write any homeworks. Your homework will be basically training. Just like you're going to the gym to work on your muscles, for your listening and reading skills, each night, 10 minutes before you go to sleep, try to read something. What should you read? I don't know, pamphlets, newspapers, a book. The best thing for you to read would be, I would say, something that you already like, the book that you already like. Read it again, right? So it is fun because you're not anxious. You know what's going to happen, so you're not going to feel cringy or anxious or stressed, about what's going to happen. Reading a book that you like for the second or third time is going to be even more enjoyable experience than the first time. There are not going to be surprises, of course, but this is going to be, if you practice this long enough, then you're going to acquire a pretty nice habit to have generally in life, which is reading books. Most people don't read books these days. They burn their eyes and with these smartphones. So, I do this, so I know, but I know how it is. But for you, in order for you to have better reading skills and to understand the complex structures, to work on your synonyms, to basically try to read the books that you like. Again, reading or acquiring skills in English language should be an enjoyable experience. It definitely shouldn't be something that you have to do. It should be something that you just do without thinking, like active, passive acquiring of a knowledge. Again, going back to the listening part, I want to share with you a typical story. I remember my mom, she was hooked on like Korean TV shows at some point. So my mom, her, my auntie, her friends, they were all watching these Korean TV shows for some reason. I don't know, they were popular. And after a while, they started like speaking very basic Korean words. Now, believe it or not, my mom can just speak, like at this point, she can speak very, very simple Korean. And so much so that she can go to any Korean shop and order anything and just have a very basic and simple conversation just by watching that. She didn't study. She was studying without knowing that she was studying, right? So even if you don't want to do it mathematically over time and being exposed to some kind of content, you will just get better at it. Your content should be English books, novels. You can read anything. It doesn't have to be a book about machines or something like professional, because that's a different kind of language, so you don't need it here. It's a very specific kind of language, math, physics, I don't know. But at this point, or even like if you're watching Spanish soap operas or American, Canadian soap operas, this is the best way. The situations are very simple. What's happening there, it's very basic. They're not using like complex words, and but whether you like it or not, whether you want it or not, your listening and speaking skills are going to tremendously improve over time. I know that my mom, at one point, as she was watching like 200th episode of this Korean show, she was just washing dishes and the TV was behind her. So she was washing dishes and she knew what was happening there. Like she would just take a glance from, time to time, a couple of seconds like this, and to see the face, to see the situation or something. But she would listening to what's happening in the TV show, and it was really hilarious. But then again, it clicked something in my mind. I thought like, this is genius. This is how kids learn the language. So that was a little story about how my mom improved her Korean. She didn't even want to study that. Now, when it comes to English, when it comes to reading these novels, it's going to be helpful for you. So one of the things that are frustrating is that how do you know you improved yourself? Well, it's really hard. Think about 10 years ago or 2 years ago. Probably your English wasn't as good as it is at this point. You might not be happy about it. You might not be happy about your speaking skills or reading skills or listening skills, but overall it's way better than what it was before. Now, how did you get to this point? Did you just wake up one morning and started speaking like you speak now? And before it sucked, there's no point because it was processed all along. So you were studying like this whole time. This is what I have in mind, and this is why you need to have continuation. Even having a bad class, or even feeling like you didn't do much in a class, or you didn't do the homework well, or whatever, it's better to try. Just try. Keep showing on classes, and keep studying. Take these 10 minutes. Time is all you have. I know you have these 10 minutes. Open that book, read it, and you will definitely improve. I guarantee you 100%. But for this to work, you need to work, remember? So what should you read? Read anything you like. If you like Harry Potter books, read Harry Potter books. If you like to read, if there's something in your native language that you love reading, and if there's a book in your native language that you can read like 15 times, try to find that same book in English and read it in English. Then again, it's the same for the listening part. I would say I would combine listening and reading training with, why don't you take like PDF? There are many free books that you can download, or if you want to, you can buy a book together with an audiobook, right? Find what you really like. To me, my personal favorite is Brian Tracy, because with him, like, it's a very nice tone of voice, and he talks about some like really nice things where you can improve yourself. It doesn't talk about like, if you just imagine it's going to happen. No, not that kind of stuff. It's not spiritual at all. It's very concrete, realistic. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. But if you don't like that, I'm suggesting only because of the not because of the topic, but because of the pronunciation and a nice voice. If you don't like that kind of stuff, find your own personal book and try to listen to it and reading at the same time, right? So you can combine those two. To me, that's the perfect kind of practice. Listening to the audiobook and reading the same book at the same time. You have that time. Time is all you have, so I'm sure you have that time to do this. What not to do when it comes to reading and when it comes to listening. Don't have a bad attitude. Like, don't think, oh my God, I'm not gonna make it. Oh my God, what's gonna happen? Having a confidence is really important here. The confidence you will gain over time. You need to think about yourself as a constant learner. So always have a good attitude that it's okay not to know everything, right? Don't say like, oh my God, I don't know everything. Say, okay, maybe I don't know everything now, but I'm going to work a little bit, and through time and continuation, I will acquire all the necessary skills and everything that is needed for me to achieve the best result. Again, continuation is really, really important here. I want to remind you that in the listening part, part 6 and part 5, they are the hardest, and in the reading part 4 is also the hardest one. So don't get discouraged because you feel like you cannot perform well in these tasks. Tasks 3 and 4 in reading part, and tasks 4, 5, and 6 in listening part. I mean, they're hard even for the Canadian native speaker. Basically, how you can conquer this, you need to be focused. Before you come to the test, turn off your cell phone, all right? You don't need any distractions. 15 minutes is enough, but I would turn it off like 2 hours before. If somebody needs to call you, if there's an emergency, okay, I understand that, but you don't need some extra distractions. These smartphones trained us like dogs to react on any notification. So first thing we do, no matter how focused you are, if you hear that famous sound, that sound that you are used to, that is going to just take away your attention to some other things that are less important than your task that you're doing right now. So turn off your smartphone. Sleep well before the class, and try not to focus on anything else but the test. The test is most important. As you've noticed in the last class, the only reason why I didn't give correct answers to the listening part and to the reading part as well is because I wasn't focused enough. I either skimmed through very fast through the reading, or I didn't pay so much attention to when I was listening. So you need to be really, really focused. It's really easy, but sometimes our mind wander off. Sometimes you're listening to something happens, there's a blockade, and I don't know, something happens, and you just totally stop paying attention to what's happening in the video or happening in the materials. Don't do that to yourself. Try to focus. Focusing is also a matter of exercise. A lot of you are creative people. Some of you are artists. Some of you like to think about some things. We are all different, but focus is really important in the reading and listening tests. So you try to work on that. Try to turn off your smartphone 2 hours before taking a test, and prepare yourself. Read the books. Listen to the audio files. Which ones you should do, it doesn't matter as long as they're fun to you, because the fun part is also important. English language is something that is foreign in your brain still, so most of you still try to translate the English language in your head. You need to get comfortable. At some point, the brain is just going to give up. If you constantly, in everyday situations, if you turn on some podcasts, or even if you don't listen to them, your brain is still going to passively acquire information and learn. So in everyday situations also, instead of watching news in your native language, try to watch the same news in English, right? Whatever important information you need to hear throughout the day, whatever content you sponge in, let's say, you take in and consume, it needs to be in English. So even if you turn on TV news or something, our brain always likes to, if our brain is trained to react on words. That's why it's the best, for example, to study listening only instrumental music. So when you're studying for something, whatever, you listen to instrumental music, not the music with vocals and words, because that is going to distract you. Your brain is going to thinking about the text instead of focusing on doing math, whatever. So that's why you should use this kind of brain flaw of focusing on words. You should use that when you're washing dishes, doing whatever you do in your everyday when you're spending at home. Turn on the radio, for example. Turn on the radio, let the person speak in English at all times. Whether you like it or not, your skills are going to be just better. So read anything, read the books, absorb as much content in English throughout the day. Remember that this is a process. You don't have to be perfect. practice, 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 and I'm sure that you're going to reach it. I hope I covered all the answers, and I hope I explained things to you in the best way possible. I know that you're going to ace in your test. We're going to stop with this first part of the video, and then we are going to continue talking about writing and your biggest worries and your most frequent asked questions about writing and speaking part. Be right back.